Living with Jonathan and Katy.
Welcome to Jonathan with Katy. I don't know what the show.
Jonathan's clearly on an edible.
I'm not on an edible. Katy gave me drugs before this. She gave me this nasty little Pepto-Bismol tablet, and I'm high.
It's a witch tea.
Yeah.
You said living with Jonathan with Katy.
With Katy.
That means that you have changed the name to Living with Jonathan with Katy.
With Katy.
Featuring Katy.
She lives in the broom closet underneath the stairs.
I always do.
Yeah,
Daddy.
Daddy, when am I going to move into the big house, Daddy? Will listeners stop listening because I just did that? I don't know.
Probably.
Nike, my boyfriend, famous. He says when he talks really fast in English, he'll talk really fast and then instead of saying because, he'll say because. He'll go, because it was like, and he will deny it to this day. And he'll listen to this and he'll text me probably right now being like, I do not say because, but he totally says because, but only when he talks fast.
That's interesting. We've established before, you say warm.
I say warm.
And I met a Canadian recently and he was telling me about the process.
The process? Mm-hmm. Have you seen that Canadian TV show on Hulu where they all talk real weird in Canadian?
No.
You need to watch it. I don't know. It's like, I think it's called like Letter Kenny or Big Kenny or something like that. I think it's like all country Canadians. And so when you watch little episodes of it, you're like, oh, different country.
Yeah.
Totally different country.
It is very much.
It's not like Degrassi where everyone's like American and then they just say sorry. And then you're like, oh, they're in Canada,
I love, as we've established before though, you're incredibly talented at accents.
Am I really?
You are so much. Can we play, we've always wanted to play a little Master Bitch Theater.
Okay. Yeah, I could do some accents.
Can we do some of your, I'm going to like click, run the little, I'm going to spin the little wheel.
Okay.
And you're going to give us some of your iconic accents, I would say.
But the thing about these accents is I don't know how accurate they are. I just do them. They just come out.
Yeah, that's because the muses speak through you in all the voices of the land.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with my favorite Scottish.
Oh, yeah. This is I'm sorry to any Scottish person, but honestly, I don't know you. Where are we going? If we go there, we'll die. I won't go there. Like, that's my Scottish.
I didn't know that you're straight in Scottish.
I'm gay as the day is long. That was bad. I lost it. See, I can only
what
say...
What does this gay Scot sound like?
I don't know. I do have a fantasy of doing a show in Edinburgh and just like getting to see all the little like hot Scots with their kilts. And I really want to see, I just want a little flash of ball.
Do you remember I went to Edinburgh and I brought you back a postcard of a little slutty boy with his little kilt up.
Still on my fridge.
Yeah.
It's a talking point.
I was going to... Or did I bring you penis-shaped pasta?
I'm sure you did.
I can't remember. Maybe that was in Italy.
Yeah, I think that was in last century.
I travel so much that it's hard to keep track.
You do travel so much.
I mean, here, Palm Springs, back, Palm Springs. I mean,
no, there were the years where I was constantly in your apartment staying there your old apartment, because you were just like in Europe.
That's right.
Time. Yeah.
I was traveling with my male financier friends, as you like to say. Yeah, I love your Scottish. I'm trying to think of another. I feel like you have another British monologue in you.
Oh,
I have one.
Oh, do it.
Okay, wait. Can we dual do this? Do you remember the speech in Elizabeth Golden Age? Can you play the Spanish person's part? This is my dream monologue of all time.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to see where you bring it up. This is also, you guys, this is how you know what close of friends we are, that we already know what this
exactly
Master Bitch Theater is.
About,
okay,
yeah.
Go ahead. Go.
There is a wind coming that will sweep away your pride.
Okay. So it is the year 16 something. There's some drama between Spain and England.
Oh, yeah.
Spain's being a bitch, as she always is.
Yes. Because what's happening is Spain was used to being the popular girl, colonizing all the indigenous.
Yeah.
And now England
with all
is
her
like,
little golds and shit. Yeah.
And then now England is like, we want to colonize the indigenous. And they're moving into being the new popular mean girl on the world stage. And
actually, what we do is instead we go, you guys are going to do the work for the gold and we're just going to rob you. And that's why I am proud to be British. Just kidding. Okay, so this is Master Bitch Theater, Elizabeth the Golden Age, the drama.
Yes.
And so she's like, what's happened is that the Spain are trying to sponsor a plan that is going to put Mary Queen of Scots on the throne and dethrone Elizabeth.
Yes.
They're going to assassinate her. And then she's like, okay, so you are the Spanish ambassador.
Yes. Yes.
Say, okay, so she's like, quit trying to kill me. You
Un,
little
dos,
bitches.
tres, action.
Okay.
There is a wind coming that will sweep away your pride.
I too can command a wind, sir. I have a hurricane in me that will strip Spain bare if you dare to try me. End scene.
It was wonderful. Can I give you a note?
Yes.
Why are you whispering? Yell it.
I know,
to
you
the
told
wind.
me that too, because I sent you, remember I sent you my own monologue taped on a Scottish hillside, and you were like, why are you whispering?
Oh, yeah. Katie was in the middle of nowhere, Scotland, just on a hillside, and she was whispering. And if you had yelled, I mean, like, no one would have heard. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but it was because it's actually a famous tourist spot, and behind me, like behind the camera was all the people.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't want to be like pulling focus, even though I do
look like
love
you're on
to.
planes, just like empty planes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do love that scene, and I watch that scene a lot. Like, you know how some people listen to music to inspire them?
Yeah.
I watched that interaction. And then she says, also, it's like, I mean, it's probably problematic, but she's like, go back to your rat hole and tell Philip if he wants to take his hands out his pockets, I'll blah, 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 something. I don't know.
I do remember that. That was not as good of a movie as the first Elizabeth. I'm all about the first Elizabeth.
True. When this house shall have no, wait, what is it?
Oh, it's, he's like they're like out of sync. It's like movie symbolism. I love when they do movie symbolism as if we all haven't like, went to college, even though I didn't go to college, but I have,
Yeah. On the streets.
On the streets. El Colegio de la Calle. Yeah, he's like, they're dancing and he's just like, for God's sakes, you're still my Elizabeth. And then she's like, I am no man's Elizabeth. Oh, yeah. And if you seek to rule, you are mistaken. And then she turns around and she's like, I will have one mistress here. And no master. Yeah.
I love master.
Yeah.
Those, can I just tell you guys, if you want to know about my sexuality, I am basically the Elizabeth movies. Joseph Fiennes and Clive Owen are so hot. And one plays Sir Robert Dudley, which is like the lamest name. And then the other one is, of course, the famous pirate king, Sir Walter Raleigh.
I prefer Clive Owen. Even though I like the first movie better, Clive Owen is so sexy. I think because he has this hound dog.
And he has a pearl earring and he's a little unshaven. And also he's the bad boy because he is a pirate. He's full on a criminal.
Yeah.
He goes and just robs this is why she gets so mad in that speech, because the Spanish ambassador goes, your piratas, your pirates, they come all the way up the Thames to your royal bed. And then my favorite, she goes, you will leave my presence, sir.
You know what our relationship is, though? It's in the first movie with the French cross-dressing dude.
It is.
Where he's like she catches him and he's just like, and then like he's like, oh. And
for you guys, he's also in full drag.
And he's like, oh, what is the problem here? I'm just surrounded by my friends. It is just what I do in private, And then she
laughs, right? And she's like, says something like, your secret's safe with me, bitch.
She says it in like French because apparently like she spoke Spanish, French, Dutch, English, German. Yeah. She spoke like all these things. But I know that he was definitely doing that thing of overcompensating.
Right.
Like he was on the river and he was like, maybe the queen is frigid to me because no one has unlocked her secrets and maybe they need a very big key. Un triangle. Like it was like buffoonery, absolute buffoonery.
I miss being royal.
Me too.
So much. It really was. That's where we first met in our first life. You were the secret drag.
Centuries ago.
Yeah.
Centuries ago.
Yeah, centuries.
I do think that I'm better though at modern British accents. I can't really do like court stuff. Like It's very hard. I have to almost like be warmed up for it.
Warmed up in a
for
corset.
It. Yeah. But I can do the entire monologue from the Constant Gardener from Rachel Weisz, where she plays this like British activist.
Do it.
Okay. So if you haven't seen this amazing movie directed by Fernando Meirelles from Brazil, who directed City of God, and he directed this movie Constant Gardener, and it's the scene where Ray Fiennes is like a diplomat and Rachel Weisz is like an activist who like pretends to be like there to listen to his speech, but she's really there to like make her point, you know? So she's like, excuse me. Quick question. Whose map did Great Britain use when it completely decided to ignore the United Nations and invade Iraq? Or do you think it's more diplomatic to, you know, bend the will of a superpower and politely engage in Vietnam, the sequel? And then he says...
That was so good.
Yeah, and then he says something about like, well, I don't know what Sir Bernard would say. And then she was like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought that's why you were here. And then he was like, well, when we've exhausted all these efforts. And she was like, sorry, sir, exhausted? They're not exactly exhausted, are they? No, let's face it, they're just lying in the way of the tanks. No, we've spent 60 years trying to build up this organization called the United Nations, only to blow it up because our car's running out of petrol. And then he like starts to appease her, and then she like doesn't take it, and she's like, that's bullshit. You have to take responsibility. You are being paid to apologize for this pathetic country we call Britain. And he can explain to us why we're, you know, killing thousands of innocent people and burning our credentials only for, you know, a photo opportunity on the White House lawn. You know, why? You know? So that's,
you know, why you were so good at that? One, the voice, but two, the passive aggressive Britishness. So like we watched this makeup show called The Glow Up, right?
Oh, yes.
And my favorite part is that there's a co-host, or she's not even a judge. She's just the co-host on the show that's supposed to basically just walk them from like the makeup room to the judging room.
Yes.
And when someone loses, this bitch is so petty. She always goes, "She like a hug? Didn't really make it, did you?"
That was perfect.
And she'll always go, "Didn't really work out, did it much?" It's the question on the end that is the biggest shade. Like, "Thought you were talented, right?"
And it didn't work out, did it?
Did it?
Oh,
did
no.
it? Would you like a hug? You're going to have to move on now. Get your bags and go.
Yeah, and then one of the girl was like, I guess it's back to the deli, right? And then... and then, like, I literally started crying for her because I was like, girl, don't be content with that. That's very British that she was like, I guess I'm going back to the deli. It's like, no, girl.
Keep pushing.
You need to punch that host in the mouth, and then you need to get her agent to rep you or something. I don't know, like, do something.
But I have really wanted to absorb that. And also I've been watching this other show inspired by it. It's like Interior Design Masters. It's basically an entire design show for amateur people in British. And this guy, he's the little bitchiest little twink. And every time they like do his cut, like talking head, he'll be like, "The brief said it was supposed to be stylish, right? Just sort of trying to think of why it's not." Like, I'll be like, a little bit tacky, don't you think?
It's very, that's actually not even passive aggressive. That's like almost taunting.
Oh, totally. He's the worst. And he'll always be like, "Wow, surprise me." Surprised because it was ugly.
I used to have a British boss.
That made
remember?
him Australian, but yeah.
Do you remember my British boss?
Tell me.
I used to be working all day up in storage, and she used to come up from the office, and she's from Hampstead, London. I don't know if this is a Hampstead accent, but she would go, Jonathan, so what have you been doing all day? And it used to make my blood boil. Like, I hate that type of passive aggressiveness in any accent. I absolutely hate it.
I've really always wanted to like master. I still can't tell the difference between the Queen's English and somebody else. All I know is that she'll be like, "And that is really clearly that." I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's more New Zealand.
Yeah, you went kind of a little bit too, like you went a little bit more Kiwi.
How do you do posh?
Well, posh is different than the Queen's English. The Queen's English is like a royal accent's its own thing.
Yeah.
Like even posh people don't speak posh. I mean, the Queen's accent. So it's very like, no, I can't possibly do that.
It's quite tight.
Tight-lipped. No,
Yes.
Edward, I'm not going to do that today. No. Like, I don't know. I can't really do a full sentence,
Like,
but it's...
And no one cares what you think.
You think that people care what you think? Well, I'm here to tell you, they don't. They don't welcome it. Like, it's like, that's like a scene from
You
The Crown.
really embody that character. You get so tight. Okay, micro impressions. All right. Remember, this is also one of our favorite catchphrases of all time. So I'm going to say what it is, and then you can explain what it is. Okay. So it's Leeds, right? And it's, "No."
Oh, yeah. That is Mel B.
Yeah, Scary Spice in the Spice World.
Yes. Is she from Leeds? I know she's Northern.
I thought she was. She's always like, I'm from Leeds." No,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
maybe she's from Leeds.
But that's my favorite. No. And then do our favorite Amy Winehouse. We'll reenact it. It's Kelly Osbourne asking Amy how she feels.
Okay.
And she goes, Amy, some people say you're quite a sexual icon. Do you believe that's true?
Only to guys. Like she just says that. I have to do it in a deep voice because it's so funny. She, of course, didn't sound like that, but it was kind of like
us,
that.
it does.
Yeah. I also love Australian. Shout out to all the Aussies out there suffering right now. But you guys have great accents.
To the outback.
The 8-bick.
I knew a man who told me about a family friend, because, Australians are crazy. Australia's crazy because of the wildlife. And a family friend had been eaten by a shark. And they were like, it was the way he wanted to go.
That is absolutely hilarious.
I know. Rest in peace.
Remember when I dated that Aussie guy who had no organs?
What?
He didn't have all his organs. And
Which episode was this of our friendship?
It was very early on.
No, but because when you were single, you date the way that women in Sex and the City date, where each week it would be like, oh, John, Big Cock John, or whatever.
Oh,
that sounds like a royal title.
Big Cock John. Yeah. Big ass Jim.
Yeah. So you were Australian. You were dating an Australian with no organs.
He didn't have all his organs, and so therefore it didn't work out because he was like,
did a dingo eat them?
He's like, oh yeah, I have to go back to Australia. I can't do
Sydney.
I can't do an Australian accent, but I used to be able to, but I lost it. It didn't work out because he also lived in like the rainforest or something. It was very odd. And then I started dating someone else.
From a different land.
From a different landia. From Studio City.
From Studio City. Yeah. So that's even more exotic, honestly.
Yeah. Than Australia. What other accents can you do?
Australians used to grate me, but now I like it. But I think it's because you and I do it so much.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why, but we call each other Tanya, and specifically.
Tonya? Oh, it's because of Muriel's wedding.
Okay.
That's where it
came from.
Yeah.
I always just answer the phone to you and I go, hello, Tonya.
Tonya. Shove your drink up your ass, Tonya. I'd rather swallow razor blades and have a drink with you. It's like that.
That was so good.
Really?
That was so good.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe Aussie.
It was the end. It was the you.
Yeah, but I think most of it was not good. I could just feel that I wasn't clicked into it.
You weren't there.
But that's a line from Muriel's wedding.
Yeah.
Tanya was one of the bitches from Muriel's wedding. That's why I call you Tanya all the time. And you call me Tanya all the time. Tanya.
It's our code word for bitch.
Yeah.
I have a lot of international relatives who are like my uncle married a woman from Italy, so my cousins are Italian.
Your Italian is really good.
It's mostly, literally, I think one of the last times I saw my Italian cousin, he was swimming in a swimming pool with a lit cigarette in his hand while dog paddle. It was the most Italian thing I've ever seen. And they're very fun. I like them because my cousin works in fashion and he's very he's very cool. He name drops everywhere he goes, but he hates everyone. So he'll be like, Versace, Donatella was there, but I don't really like the tacky clothes of Versace. And I was asking him, what should I wear if I was ever on a red carpet? I did ask, I was like, Versace, and he was like, looked at me like I had thrown up in front of him. He was like, please, Gucci is only acceptable. And he's like, Gucci is just artisanal from the beginning to end, always classic. And he was like, Gucci, maybe Prada. And then literally he'll
Prada.
be like, and he'll always be like, and shout out to Tommaso if you're listening. I know you're not. But he'll always be like, I was at dinner with, Vincente Prada. And I'll be like, I don't know. And he'll be like, the grandson of Acrotrelli of Prada. I'm like, okay. And then he did tell me that Miu Miu was acceptable and some other ones. But he's always at Fashion Week. He dresses in all black and smokes and looks very uninterested in anything anyone says. And then I also loved that he said, I like Christian Siriano, who's an American. And he literally looked me up and down and he goes, very American taste. and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And he was like, it's not even good American. He was like, Ralph Lauren, that is a vision, this is a style, this is an aesthetic, it's very American. And he was like, Christian Siriano, if you like.
If you like. That is so funny.
If you like. And in my mind, I have to do an impression as I pretend to hold a cigarette every time I do an impression of him.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy talking to him because
your Italian's
very
great.
Fun.
It's so funny.
They also are always yelling at it. When they would come to visit, they would always be screaming at each other. And I would always think it's they're in a big fight or something, But literally all it is just Where is the coffee? I don't know where the coffee is. Why would I know where the coffee is? Get the cream. Why do you have cream? You're already too fat. Why are you having cream? Like, it's just like small talk, but they scream it. And as a Scandinavian person by heart, it terrifies me. But I do love them. Shout out to the Italian family. And then I have my Greek uncle, Themios, my cousin-in-law. This is like his actual name. Alexandros Papachryssopoulos.
Yeah, that's Greek as hell.
Yeah, which is...
Alexandros.
Yeah. And then that was like my Uncle Themios, who was always like, Katy, my beautiful girl. There's a little Italian.
That's pretty... No, but I mean, they're kind of similar. I mean, they're both Mediterranean stuff.
But he would be like, everywhere in Greece is the most beautiful place in Greece. No, I made it too Italian.
Yeah, but it's okay. Like, your Italian's really good.
But he was fun. And then, of course, my German relatives.
Oh, can you do German?
I love them. Their English is so good that it's slightly German.
Yeah.
But they're mostly just like... they travel so much. Like, my German family's always visiting because they get like 18 weeks a year paid or something like that. You know, they know everywhere that I haven't like been before. Like, I was just like, where are you going this time? And they're like, we are very much liking the American West, and so we are driving from the Zion Canyons in Utah to da 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 da. You know, and they'll go to rock and roll because rock and roll in like the American West is just very like fun and exotic to them. So it's a lot. They're always traveling, and it's always just like, and you have been going to this, yes? And I'm like, no, I don't know it.
It's so weird to be so familiar with something like that, and then to foreigners think it's exotic, because exotic is only different to people who are not part of the culture, right?
Right.
So whatever culture that is. So like, rock and roll and the American West is like so normal to us because we grew up in SoCal, right?
Yeah.
But I could see the landscape of the Southwest, the stunning red rocks, the like indigenousness, the Spanish colonialness, the Mexicanness, then the like the whole Route 66 thing, the driving. The American movies are very much like road trip movies.
It's
a lot
Americana.
of the time.
That's what they love so much. And then I'm like, where's the witches in the Black Forest, you know?
Well, you like old school Americana because there's many different types of Americana. There's the American West Americana because that like evokes fantasies of the frontier and pioneer stuff. Then there's like American Gothic, Southern Americana.
We haven't even done
a Southern. Oh, no, I can do my favorite Southern monologue line. It's just a line, which is, they say this war's a cloud over the land, but they brought the weather, and then they stand out in the rain and they go, oh shit, it's raining. That's Renee Zellweger, who didn't sound anything like that, but I feel like the accent was pretty
From
good.
where? From Cold Mountain? Ooh,
yeah.
That's a good one. I can know my dad, who is an American. Talk about code switching. My dad would absolutely code switch from like normal,
a neutral American
to like full Okie.
Yeah.
And it was usually when he was angry at me, and so but it would usually be like something like, he'd be like, "You goddamn Yankee, that's why I shouldn't have bred with your mama." Wait, that wasn't right. But he did call me goddamn Yankee a lot. He'd be like, "You Yankee." He'd be like, "That's your Yankee blood." Like,
which, by the way, Oklahoma, no offense to your dad and anyone who lives there.
All offense to my dad.
Oklahoma is not truly a southern state, and it's not really truly a Midwestern or Southwestern.
I know.
It's like
it's a demon state.
It's a heartland state. I think it is. If anything, it would probably count more southern because there were slaves there, and then like, you know what I mean?
They had the whole Cherokee Trail of Tears, which was awful.
Yeah, and then they also had that massacre of all the black citizens who, like, in Tulsa, I think it was, in like the 1920s, where it was like very prosperous black owned businesses and black owned neighborhoods that they just went in and like legit bombed and like shot up and killed so many people. I remember reading about that as a footnote in social studies, a footnote in our history books, okay?
Yeah.
Something like that as just a footnote. It was like on the side of like, you know, whatever the main chapter was about, like maybe it was probably like about how people moved into Oklahoma and the history of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But that was not like a featured chapter. That was just a footnote. And then I remember watching the new season of Watchmen, which opens on that. And I remember being like, is this fiction? And then it's suddenly dawning on me, no, I've read this before. And then I looked it up and I was like, this is how crazy that event was, that when you see it reenacted in like a Hollywood thing, you're kind of like, this is totally fiction, right? Like this didn't happen. They didn't fly planes over and drop stuff onto Black-owned businesses, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Totally did.
No.
Totally did. And then like so many Black people moved, and then so many people who stayed just didn't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Because they were just so hurt. There was so much injustice. You know what I mean? And then there was nothing really done about it.
Shout out to Oklahoma. I've never been. I've always thought I should go retrace my roots, my little white trash roots. But I don't know. Yeah. But it is very funny. My dad was always complaining about that he'd mated with a Yankee, and that's what. But he would tell me stuff like,
"So, babe, you're mixed race."
I am mixed race. I'm mixed war. But I was trying to think of like Southern things that, or not. So I don't know, but they still do identify as like the South will rise again kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially Eastern Oklahoma, it gets real Southern.
Yeah, and he'd be like, if the rain. Have you ever heard this expression? Like, if it's raining and then, or no, it's sunny and raining at the same time.
Yeah.
The devil beating on his wife.
That's so awful.
Yeah,
I just called that a Hawaiian shower.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I went to Hawaii once, it would be sunny and just rained because it's tropical there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, it's a Hawaiian shower.
Yeah, that's glamorous. That's a Pasadena in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
the Hawaiian shower. I encountered that when we drove through Maui.
When you summered in Maui.
I can also do a Mexican accent, but I can only do it if I'm doing, which is weird because I'm Mexican American, but like I can only do it if I'm doing lines from Frida.
Okay,
it needs to always be channeled through my favorite starlet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me a quote from Frida. I just remember how I was going, Frida.
There have been 2 major accidents in my life, Diego. The trolley and you. You are by far the worst.
Ooh, that's so good.
Yeah.
What great writing, too.
Yeah, I really love it. And then I love when Diego finds out that Frida slept with Leon Trotsky. He was like, Frida, why? And she was like, because we wanted to. It hurts, doesn't it? But why? It was just a fuck. Yeah.
I love that.
And then she said something like, it was a great line. She was like, you have been my comrade, my colleague, but you have never been my husband, Diego.
Ooh.
Yeah. I love that. Which is very interesting because I'm so into the difference between Mexican accents and Mexican American accents because they're very different. Like my tío Jorge has a total Mexican accent like I just did, but then like everyone else in my family, not everyone else, but a lot of other people have just like Chicano accents where just like, yeah, like whatever, like I
that
can't
was
even
also
do that, you know?
Our early bonding when we would always just pretend we were young 17-year-old cholas.
Oh, yeah.
I remember this the other day. Do you remember we wanted to do a radio call-in show where it was
Chola
2 17-year-old cholas giving life advice because truly and I remember that they were like, you don't make it to 17 without knowing some things.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And we were like, they really would be so good at true life advice, but it would be like the most basic, it'd be like, I don't know. I just like, what do I major in college? And then it would be like, I don't know which one has the like hotter guys though.
Like, but I don't even know like about college because I'm like at the trade tech. But like, I mean, look,
wasn't very good
we
at
get that Chicanos go to college, but you know what? I didn't, and so I'm repping for the Chicanos who didn't.
Yeah,
and who went to LA Trade Tech.
Yeah, and shout out also to the extended vocabulary of the Chicano American, who is always inserting many words into a sentence that are always.
Oh yeah, I love Chicano. Like I love Chicanos, like saying like. Like I barely even asked him anything and he was just like already jumping down my throat and shit. Like,
and it was like, but not even though if you think about it. Frankie has a joke about it, but it would be like birds of a feather though. Like, like using almost the right expression. Right. Or almost the right word. Or like, I'm trying to think like if you were going to say like take it for granted or something, taken for granted, they would be like, but taken for granted.
No, I love it. But because, I mean, you're growing up with 2 different languages, but then also Chicanos in Spanish. Like when I worked at the carniceria with that butcher Gerardo from Puebla, he would always say to me in Spanish that Chicanos, even who had better Spanish than me, which, I mean, I don't have good Spanish, but meaning like they will still have like Chicanismos, like little Chicanoisms. of like redundancies, and that's how in Mexico how they can tell you're Chicano even if you speak really good Spanish. You say certain redundancies that you don't need that Mexicans wouldn't say. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and of course, like the insertion of Spanglish is like dead giveaway too.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm trying to think of other accents. We got like Swedish, Italian, French, German.
oh, you know who can do a really good, I mean, for obvious reasons, but it's hard. A Cuban accent in English sounds very different than other Latinos. Like Cubans speaking English from Cuba sound very different, and Chris Garcia can do a
Cubano.
really Cubano, and like they even in, of course, in Spanish they have a very distinct accent, but even in English you can tell a Cuban, you
as
know?
his dad does. Yeah
I
feel like the only accents we're allowed to do on this podcast without getting canceled are just all the British accents, you know.
I'm allowed to do Latino.
You are, you're totally
Yeah.
are. And I'm allowed to by blood, just kidding, by injection.
You can do South African.
No, I was trying to think of other like really like what I like really trashy like Geordie accent, like Manchester.
Oh yeah,
or something, you know.
See, there's so many British. I think you can do all European accents.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to.
Oh, like on SNL when they did the like British Bake Off, but it was like the trashy girls
Oh yeah, the Geordie.
that were like, what did they say? They're like
weren't they like, oh, it's nasty?
Nost. Yeah, they were like, oh no, we slagged him, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh, he's a oh no, she's a total slag or something like that.
Oh yeah, what was it?
Or like Drag Race UK. Did you watch that?
I didn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
that you just need to watch it for. It's very short. You need to watch it for the accents. There's actually the winner of it is someone who is called a Scouse. Okay, not totally sure what that is, but I think it's an ethnic group, and it's definitely an accent in Britain, and it's like kind of sounds Scottish-ish to me, but I know it's not in Scotland. So
Is it like Irish hybrid or something?
No. It's a Scouse accent, so you just need to watch it to hear the accent of that person. Yeah,
I like Irish accents because they kind of sound to me like kind of trickling waterfalls. Like it'll always be like, yeah, we're going out to the thing though. Like, you know.
it is actually Irish is very pleasant.
It's quite delightful.
Oh boy, oh. I don't know.
That was very Midwestern.
Oh boy, oh. I don't know how to
she's
do.
like, it's always like the little upspeak to like, I was in the pub getting coffee. No,
I'm from Ireland. Ireland is not part of Great Britain except for Northern
Saoirse
Ireland.
Ronan.
Yeah, Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah.
So it's Saoirse Ronan. I'm going
Yeah.
to teach Americans how to make tea today. I don't know how to.
No, she's
do.
like she was in the movie Brooklyn, and she'd be like, Tommy, no. She's like, Tommy, I don't think I can. No, I can't do it.
Irish is hard.
heard
And
it,
do you
I
want to
can
know
hear
why Irish is hard for us? Because the Irish accent influenced the American accent. Because there was so much immigration from Ireland because of the famine, it fundamentally influenced modern day American accents. That's why certain Irish accents, I know there were many, certain Irish accents almost sound American.
They sound almost. Also, I've heard that like the Southern accent is like actually quite similar to like King James's English or something. I don't know. Who knows?
I would believe that. Yeah.
Speaking of Irish, can we just talk about celebrities we've seen? Have we talked about this before?
What do you mean? Like who are Irish?
I saw Colin Farrell in getting out of his little boxing class. I've seen him twice.
Did you see his big Irish dick swinging between his legs?
Not, but I know. I don't. Okay, he had a sex tape.
Yeah.
And he says in it, he's like, it's something like, I'm going to butcher it, but he's like, oh, this right here. He's like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner or something.
Ew, in the sex tape?
Yeah, something like that.
Ew. He like opened up her legs and was like, oh, this is breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Ew.
But I didn't say it right.
And then he just went, just like went into it.
But he is, he's so handsome still. A little more petite than I thought, but.
Look, God put most of the meat inside his legs, in between his legs. So
do you know that there's a phrase that's like, God didn't want the Irish to rule the world, so he invented liquor. Something like that.
That was probably invented by some Brit. You know?
No, it was honestly like a bog person, like all peasants. Remember how they always say too that their like water was contaminated, so everyone only just ever drank ale?
That is really that's frightening, because you know what that means? Everyone had beer breath, and that's a hard
That was
existence.
the least of their problem in the
beer breath.
The 1600s.
I don't know if you've smelt that. That's a pretty bad problem.
But comparatively to people who weren't showering, when I went to Scotland, they were like, you go under these like, because they still have, cities get built up over time, but you can go underneath to like the close or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like where the peasants used to live. And literally it was like, not even just like a hut. He was like, this is where a peasant would live. And it's actually the pigsty. Like you would be roommating with a pig. And it was so gross. And it was like, and if you were lame or if you had the plague or something, you would just be a little pig boy.
Oh my God.
And just live there in darkness and actual shit. It was horrible.
That's crazy.
Every time I go to England or London in my travels with my male financier friends, it's just all of human history everywhere is just bloody and dark.
Absolutely.
Like there's no place that they were like, it was great.
But also what I want to say to all the people of color in the world.
Yes.
Okay. When you go to Europe, just know that even though the indigenous people there are white people, just know because many of the European powers colonized Africa, Asia, the Americas, so on, a lot of the money that was used to build these grand places, especially if they were built after the age of exploration, came from their colonies, because the point of a colony is to completely have more funding and resources back to the mainland. It's not, there's no interest in benefiting any of the natives, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I very much felt when I was in Spain and Portugal of like, there's many things here that was paid for on the backs of Black people and indigenous people. And even in Lisbon, there was like these statues that I was like, girl, take these down, of like this Catholic Portuguese monk in the Brazilian Amazon standing next to like all these native indigenous kids in like loincloths and stuff like that. And it was like in some square in Lisbon. I was like, girl, take this down. This is not what you should be proud of, you know?
I know. It's really gross. Yeah. I feel like I'm trying to think of like, even around, especially around like the California missions and stuff. Like I went down with my grandma to one, and they're getting better at like they've revised the museum to be like when like it wasn't cool what happened, you know? So there's a little bit more. There's still some old school like plaques or whatever, but I feel like they are a little bit more trying to like call that out, you know?
It is really interesting. If anyone ever visits California, go to the missions, go to one of the missions. There's them, they're all around. And what's crazy is they go from the like northern part of California all the way into South America, into the Amazon, into the jungle. I mean, the missions pepper the entire Americas. But when I went to the San Francisco mission, that is when one of the tour guides was like, oh, if you notice, a lot of the cemetery gravestones are Irish names, right? But just to let you guys know, underneath those bodies are buried the nameless graves of all the indigenous people who built the mission.
That's interesting.
That were enslaved by the Spanish Europeans. And then, of course, that period of time, so they like did like nameless graves a lot of times, or that stuff was forgotten. And then in the next century, then like the Irish were like the Irish people from Irish Americans from San Francisco were then buried on top of it. So I really like that, because if the tour guide didn't tell us that, you would just think, oh, there's just like Irish people buried here.
Yeah.
But they're like, actually, no, there's even like more people buried underneath them. The missions almost remind me of Europe, because you know how in Europe they're like, okay, so these are the people who are buried here from this century. Then underneath them are the people who are there from this century, and then this century. Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
There's always like stratification.
Yeah.
I loved, we went to a mission up in San Juan Bautista, which is like a small little Central California, gorgeous town. They have a mission there. It's like an 1800s town that's like full on, like still, it looks like you're walking into like a cowboy town.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
It's beautiful. It's like old California, like whatever. Yeah. And we were in the mission there, and it was great because he was showing us like in the mission floor, of course, it's like natives that would make all the little adobe bricks, and they were like finding some that were one of the adobe bricks had like a footprint, because they would make the bricks and put them all out in the fields to bake, but sometimes people would be walking over them or something. So there was like an animal paw print in one that would like walk over, or one of them has an indigenous person's like footprint in it. And so he was showing how like in the thing, which by the way, all those missions were built on like they were built on like formerly sacred sites for Native Americans. So there's like weird things like, oh, why is it that on the solstice there's like a perfect line of light from there to the head of the thing? Like it's kind of good. It's kind of like it's like a little bit of like native subversion where they're like,
but
it shouldn't have been built, but there is a little bit of like there's a little secret rebellion in there, in that they were like, let's do like a pagan kind of secret altar here or whatever. And in the floor he was pointing out that like at most everything is flat, but then you can tell like some natives like were like, here you go, and they flipped the tile the wrong way so that the paw print would show, because of course that was like animism, was they were like, respecting coyotes or whatever.
They loved nature and animals, and
so it was like the 50 there would be like a secret paw print here and a secret paw print there, and then there was like a footprint there. So I thought that was cool.
That is,
it was
really
a good
cool.
little like side. It was a good little secret dig,
Yeah. That's why I kind of do like, I'm getting more into like mid-century modern architecture. Like you actually have like in your apartment right now, like a really great mid-century modern Palm Springs theme going on. Where before I did like Spanish colonial revival, but then like when you go into those houses, you're kind of like, what is this? Am I pretending to be like some Spanish like lord of a hacienda? Like,
right.
Come on. Like let's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels cool, but then when you actually think about the history, you're like, this is like, first of all, not real Spanish colonial, because it's the only real Spanish colonial is anything in the Americas that's built during the 14, 15, 16, 1700s, right?
Yeah.
It's like revival, so it's like from 1920, right? So it's all like fake hacienda style. You know what I mean?
That's my mom's house. I used to like it, but also that was the era. Like I feel like a lot of the early 2000s when you went to Ross was a lot of like a dark leather club chair, and then like a lot of like wrought iron home goods. Remember that was like very hot.
Rustic
I feel like all our
decor.
moms, rustic, and a lot of like stained glass lanterns and stuff. But now whenever I go in there, it makes me think of the rack, like the Inquisition.
Really, yeah.
And the rack and torture and demons. And that's why I love it. No, but it really did. Like when you've like gone through, or there's down in San Diego, there's the Museum of Man, and across from it is the Museum of Torture. And it's all the tools that were used during the Inquisition. It's also why I like Elizabeth Golden Age, because in the trailers, whatever, it's like, there is a wind coming. With it brings the Inquisition.
And remember when Elizabeth was like, a man will confess to anything under torture. Oh, the best scene though is from the first. I forget, this is my favorite scene. The best scene is, remember when she's almost assassinated?
Yes.
And then her like advisor.
It was a poison, or it was an arrow that came.
Yeah,
it was an actual
arrow.
Pistol, and it was like a young boy who had tried to.
No, that's in the second one.
Okay.
So the second one was a pistol, and then the first one was an arrow, but a thick, big arrow.
Yeah.
And it was like right by her head, and she comes in. And she's like, oh my God. And then her advisor, like, while she just got assassinated, was like, you have to marry. And she was like, oh my God, get the fuck off my dick. Like, I was almost assassinated. And he was like, everyone knows that Sir Robert visits your bed and you fornicate with him. And then she was like, yes, sir, I live my life in the open. I'm surrounded by people. I do not understand how such a judgment has been made of me. And then he was like, you cannot marry him. And then she was like, why not? And then he was like, because he's already married. And then that inspires the scene of what we just did before, of him like trying to dance with her. And she like is pissed because she knows.
No, thank you.
Yeah, she's like, you lied to me this whole time. You didn't tell me that you had a wife.
Yeah. And then also, it's not just that. He is fucking one of her ladies in waiting.
Yes.
And that's a problem. And I agree. And I would have her murdered because, but she's the one who, remember, and this is a true story, they tried to give her a poison dress. Do you remember?
She wears
Which seems like something you would do to me.
I would never.
You'd be like, hey, here's this new sequins dress. It's so cute. You should wear it to precinct.
Yeah.
And then you put it on. And then remember, I remember that a haunting scene because she puts it on because she's like, the queen's the other room. And she's
like, take a hot shower, open up those pores,
right.
Then put it right on. It slips in better.
Yeah. And she puts it on. And then she immediately starts like convulsing and is like, and then they like rip it off. And then she's full on like dead from poison.
Yeah.
And I wish we could do that again to people.
Here's a poison Christian Siriano. Yeah,
Literally.
that's how you would put it on.
Yes.
It was a Christian Siriano.
Then I would just die on the red carpet. But as we always say, die hot.
Absolutely. Which means when you are dying from your poison dress, not too much scratching, baby. Like,
yeah,
not
honey,
too much
keep
scratching.
it hands up.
Yeah, because that girl, she died bloody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you remember how like I've heard too, like one of the benefits of like drinking out of old drinking horns, or that old Viking chief glasses would be basically, think of a martini glass, but without the stem. It would be like conical, like a cone, because you couldn't put it down because therefore you couldn't get it poisoned. You had to hold it in your hand the whole time.
Oh. Yeah. So that's actually a great technique.
Yeah.
You know, guys, we just love talking about our past.
I know.
And about how we met and high school, Viking
just the
days.
drama.
Yeah. This was just a fun, hostful episode.
A little emphasis on the hoe, honey.
Yes.
Samantha Jones would like it.
We need more of us sometimes in these episodes.
Yeah.
You know? Sometimes the topics get heavy and we just kind of need to do accents. That's really what it is.
And that's all half of what our friendship is. So
yes.
I also think we need to just introduce a little more positivity in the world. Let's end it with some fun things. Like, what are we excited about?
Fun things.
Yeah.
Okay. New segment. Fun things.
Fun things.
Okay. I'm very.
And you have to start with fun thing.
Fun thing. Bollywood music on YouTube
is back.
Oh my God. I mean, it's never left.
Okay.
I'm working out to it. I am crying to it. I mean, I just love and I don't know how to access full Bollywood films.
Yeah.
I know that they're like advertising some accounts on a lot of those videos. They're so gorgeous, and after we sign off, we are watching some. I just am in love with the singing. I'm in love with the dancing and the performing. I just think it's so great. If we had our own TV show, I would love for us to fly to India and do a whole episode about the Bollywood film industry.
It'd be so fun. You know, the big thing about Bollywood, or like the key, is that they never kiss.
Really?
I forget. Yeah, like at the end they like embrace, but I don't think they ever kiss.
Katie, do you know what another big thing about Bollywood
very
is?
chaste.
The men are insanely good looking and hot. I mean, America, we just don't have the sexual rawness of a lot of these Bollywood leading men. I mean, they are just so fucking hot. I can't take it sometimes.
There's also, she was claimed the most beautiful woman in the world, Aishwarya Rai.
She's great.
Gorgeous. And you know what's wild? Well, it's not wild, it's cultural, but she didn't get married, I think, till she was in her 30s, and she lived with her parents till she was in her 30s. Even though because it's cultural, she didn't leave the family compound.
Right.
But she's like imagine if Charlize Theron was like, I'm just about to move out of my mom's house for the first time at age 32, you know?
Well, I mean, I get it. I mean, you know, as we've talked about with Chris and me, like the way like our parents are with each other is like starkly different the way.
And they're always like, stay with us till ever. They're like, actually just have her move in.
Oh yeah. My parents, I mean, my Mexican American parents would prefer if I still lived with them. Yeah. But I just can't do that. You know what I mean? I just can't be happy and do that.
I think it's fascinating. But, yes, shout out to Bollywood. We should go to Little India and
wait, we have a Little India?
Yeah, in Artesia. I'll take you.
Oh, no, I know about Artesia.
And if you want Bollywood films, they have all the VHS stores there, so you can go.
Oh, perfect.
And does my mom have a sari? Yes. And has she worn it? Yes.
What's one of your fave things?
My favorite things is your discovery. You showed me John McClane is a beauty YouTube demon vampire influencer.
Absolutely. And professional makeup artist. He's Scottish. He does go by he. He does, yes.
He presents as, trans feminine two-spirit.
As he has said, I am the man.
But he looks like a beautiful widow.
Yes. Yes, that is exactly his aesthetic.
It's like if Dita Von Teese was a widower in the Scottish Highlands or something.
Yes.
And his YouTube tutorials are equally hilarious and self-aware and so seriously genuine. He'll like stop a tutorial to show you how to lacquer a black table.
Yes.
And he's hilarious. So he's brought so much joy to our lives. I also did get a new e.l.f. highlighter for my birthday. It's a peachy rosy gold. And, I just love to just hit the light.
Yeah.
I wear it
speaking of that, and I was inspired by John too, I'm going to start doing boy makeup looks.
Yeah.
But we're still in works because I tried to do one today. And as I said, it was flaking off of my face because I used a foundation that was too mattifying for my dry skin. So I need to figure it out, and I will be texting you for tips.
Yes. And we will be putting it on the Instagram.
I actually will be taking Insta photos.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that said, guys, thank you so much for listening. Let's give a shout out. Let's remind everybody where they can find us. Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We can go to the Living with Jonathan, Katy Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram at Katy French, katyfrench.com, all my dates.
Yeah, follow me
all my
on
court
Twitter
dates, by the way.
At John, Jon, CERDA-ROWELL. CERDA, CERDA. It's Spanish for female pig, so never forget it. And then you can also listen to our podcast on YouTube as well. We upload them there, as well as our web series, which this was inspired by. Find us on all the social, follow, subscribe, comment.
Send us your accents.
Absolutely. Send us your accent. Send us Insta videos. If anyone sends us a video of them doing an accent, we will post it in the stories.
Unless you don't want us to, in which case we'll just keep it for our own.
Sure,
delight.
but we would love to post them in the stories and on the Twitter.
Yes,
because that's something that's really fun for the Twitter, like a nice 10-second accent impersonation.
Let's make Twitter fun again. That's my campaign.
Oh my God, Twitter is truly a hellscape. As
I know, and you think we'd like that, but we don't.
No. Not at all.
But anyways, thanks for listening, guys. We love you. Okay, bye.
Bye.